Hey, what's going on, people of the internet? Welcome back to another episode of Movies Good, Internet Bad, a celebration of the cinema uploaded right here to the place that hates it the most. I'm Cory, that's Shane, and I went to a film festival. It was Bald Baby's first time going to a film festival. I went up to Savannah, Georgia last week with my lady for a little vacation that involved seeing 12 movies, which is certainly a trip. So we're going to flip the script for today's video, and Shane is going to interview me about the movies I saw, my experience, some tips and tricks for anybody who's interested in going to see that sort of thing. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like this video, you know the shtick. Shane, the floor is yours, sir. I'm a roast. Based me.
Yeah, this is new for me. I don't usually host on this, but
yeah,
we're flipping the script.
Time to try to have some personality there, kid.
Yeah, I've only seen one of these movies, so we'll be able to talk about that one. I have not seen any of the other ones, although a couple of them I am very interested in, so I'm interested to hear what you have to say. But first, before we start, what did you think of your film festival experience? I have only been to one as well.
It was very different from what I thought it was going to be. For one, it was busy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there were people everywhere. Like, I'm very used to, at this point, movie theaters in Orlando. There's not a lot of people that go to see, especially like the avant-garde indie movies or whatever. But there, it was just like people were salivating for it. The festival that I went to, it's put on by the Savannah College of Art and Design. So it's technically like a college-run film festival, but it takes place right in the middle of downtown Savannah. They shut down the main street. They have two different theaters that play all the movies and everything. All the celebrities come in to intro the films, promote them. They do master classes for the kids and whatnot. But man, just the energy of the people that are there that just want to watch movies.
Yeah,
it almost kind of felt like the moment where you're like, oh, I found my people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in a lot of walks of life, like coworkers and people you see on the street or whatever, you can't be like, oh man, did you go see Night Bitch this week? And they're like,
yeah,
what? But yeah, it was a trip. It was also a little more exhausting than I thought it was going to be. We had originally planned to see 16 movies. And by the time all was said and done, we were just burnt out. And we watched 12 and then packed up the car and drove home. So it was awesome. I recommend it to anybody who's interested in that sort of thing. But just be prepared for, sore tailbone after a lot of movie watching and just a lot of people fighting for seats and all that kind of crap. So
yeah. So we're going to talk about feature films, but did you happen to catch any of the shorts that were playing as well? You did not? Okay.
Yeah, we did all the things we did were feature films, except for the very last thing we did. Jen, my lady, is a huge Catherine Hahn fan, and she was there to do a panel and show the finale of the Agatha Marvel show.
Gotcha.
So we did that. There was like a TV sidebar. Everything else that we did was feature films. Gotcha.
I have been on the other side of a film festival where I had a movie playing at the film festival.
Oh, really?
So you've seen it. My thesis film in college played at the Austin Film Festival.
I did not know that. That's cool.
Did you not know that? Yeah.
No,
so I got to go up there.
You got up with the microphone and did the intro and all that shit?
Okay. Yeah, it was cool. So it was like 5 shorts. And so at the end, they asked us questions about it. And it's really just crazy the type of audience that film festivals will attract, because I was like a college kid, right?
Sure.
And there's like all these people, like even after we left the screening, there's people like talking my ear off about like how much they connected with the film and how much they loved it and how, and I was just like, I just made this college movie. Like, this is crazy to me. Like, it was the weirdest, like, out of body experience. I'm like, I'm just some guy. Like, don't
you love it, but you also want to tell them to just go touch grass a little bit. Right?
It was just why I'd never experienced anything like that before in my life. But I can totally see the audience aspect that you're referring to. It's people just really love movies that go to these.
Yep.
All right, so we'll start. This will be kind of a lightning round situation. I don't know if you want to do spoilers. Actually
remember any of these.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to do spoilers or not. Probably not, because most of these are not out. Yeah. Some of them are, but all right. So we'll start with Sing Sing, which is a movie about prisoners who take up theater in prison, right, as a way of kind of coping with their situation. Yep. Stars Coleman Domingo. What did you think?
Yeah, so they're in they call it an RTA program. It's rehabilitation through art, and the cool thing about it is that it's based off a true story. And Coleman Domingo is a monster. He's so good on the screen, man. He absolutely just crushes that role. I don't want to get into too much, but they do a really good job just making you fall in love with all these incarcerated people that are trying to be better. You know, they all have the same goal, which is to get out and get their life back and move on from something bad that they did in the past, or something that they didn't do and ended up in prison for anyways. So
Little
it's just
Shawshank in there.
a little bit. Yeah, there's a little bit of Shawshank in there. Just really, really great. I think Coleman's probably going to get another Oscar nom. He was nominated for Rustin last year, and he's better in this movie than he was in Rustin.
That's good. So. Good to hear. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Next one is the new Steve McQueen film, which will be on Apple TV, Blitz.
So I like Blitz. I didn't love Blitz. Gotcha. It is extremely well directed. Steve McQueen is very, very good behind the camera. He does a lot to make the movie feel very big in scope and scale. Saoirse Ronan is one of the leads in it. She's excellent. The other lead is a 10-year-old kid. And
nice. Okay.
You and I have talked about how hard it is to get good performances out of children. That performance is a testament to how good of a director Steve McQueen is, because the kid that's in it, he's very good. It's a World War II thing, so if period stuff is your thing, you'll probably enjoy it. If it's not, it might not. But it shows some of the horrors of war from a different perspective. It's more from the angle of the everyday people that aren't actually like fighting the war, but are still dealing with the repercussions of it, which is pretty heavy material. But it's going to be on Apple TV, and you can watch it for free at home. So definitely watch it.
Nice. Was it similar to I forget the name of this, and I shouldn't, the Holocaust movie from last year, where it's more about just the everyday?
Oh, Zone of Interest?
Zone of Interest. Thank you.
No, it's a little bit more epic action-y movie.
Okay.
It goes through a lot of different set pieces.
Got it. So it's not like a slice of life type of movie. It's more of a dramatic narrative. Okay.
Yeah, it's got a narrative to it.
Cool. Got it. All right, next one, total different curveball, is Transformers 1, which is the animated Transformers movie that is somehow the highest reviewed Transformers movie as well. I shouldn't say somehow. Most animated movies are better than live action, to be quite honest.
Well,
but I don't think anyone expected this one to be
compare them to
as
the
good
Michael
as
Bay
was.
Transformers movies.
Yeah, it's not a high bar.
There are two Transformers movies that I really like. This one is one of them, and Bumblebee is the other.
I like Bumblebee a lot, but I love Haley Steinfeld. You know that.
Yeah, and I don't hate the very first Michael Bay Transformers movie.
No, it's a very basic, like, run of the mill hero's journey type of story, and it works.
But it doesn't try to be anything more than that, and it's fine, right?
First one works.
All the other ones go completely off the rails.
Yeah.
And then I saw the trailer for this new animated one, and I was like, this looks like a heap of dog shit. Why is this at a film festival of all things? I didn't know until he introed the film that the director of this movie also directed Toy Story 4.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then the movie played, and like, it was a lot of college kids that were in there at the screening because it's Transformers or whatever.
Yeah.
But it tore the house down.
Nice.
And it was surprisingly very good. It was actually, you go into one of these things and you see this list of movies that YouTube channels have talked about. Oh, this is going to be Oscar nominated, and this is this movie, and this is going to be great, and all that. And you see Transformers, and you're like, well, how does this fit in?
Yeah.
And then it ended up being just like a really pleasant surprise. Chris Hemsworth is in it. Brian Tyree Henry is in it. Scarlett Johansson, Keegan-Michael Key. And typically big actors like that don't do a great job voice acting. I thought they were all actually really good. So I would actually recommend that people go see it.
Sweet.
Animated movies are valid. And, sometimes that gets lost on people. But this was quite good.
One of my favorite movies of the year is The Wild Robot, which is animated. Oh, it's so good. You guys,
I have the 4K ordered, so I'm just waiting for it to.
Yeah. It's next month, right? December.
Yeah.
Because I know it's out on digital, and I thought about buying it, but I'm like, I'll just wait.
Man, you liked it that much that you thought about
it was great.
Doing the digital version, huh?
Okay. Yeah, it's really good.
Cool.
All right, next one is September 5th. or September 5. It's called September 5, but I'm saying 5th, which is about the Iranian hostage crisis. It's a journalism movie, so similar to those other types of movies. But how was that?
It was very intense. And the cool thing about it is that if you've seen Steven Spielberg's Munich,
Mhm.
it's the same story, but it's told from the perspective of the ABC Sports news crew that is working the Olympics that all of
Yeah.
a sudden has to shift to covering a massive terrorist event.
That's great premise.
Yeah, and it's only about hour and 30 something minutes.
Okay.
Tight little thriller. And it's funny because in today's day and age, it's stuff that you don't think about. Like ABC and CBS are fighting over who gets the satellite to be able to broadcast live.
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
Who would think about that kind of stuff, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
But Peter Sarsgaard is the lead,
Yeah.
and he's quite good. The second lead is John Magara, who was the third in Past Lives. He was Greta Lee's
nice. Okay.
significant other in the movie.
Gotcha. Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's excellent. He's
Awesome.
like a young showrunner for the news, and he's the one that kind of gets like plunged into the whole situation.
Got it. Cool.
It should be coming out. So before that one, as we were walking into the theater, they had staff saying, "Hey guys, no phones out in the theater during this. We have anti-piracy staff here tonight for this," because it doesn't come out until like the middle of December or something.
Okay.
So they were making sure that like nobody was recording the screen or anything or
Gotcha.
whatnot. But Paramount picked it up, and I think it's going to be like their big Oscar push.
Nice. Okay.
For the season. So
awesome. Yeah. It seems like every year there's some sort of journalism movie that makes it into a lot of award categories. And
Spotlight, or
Argo, what was the one about the molesting priests? The Washington Post one. Is it Washington Post?
Isn't that Spotlight?
Oh yeah, it's Spotlight.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. You're right. Okay. Next one is going to be A Real Pain, which is Jesse Eisenberg's movie, starring himself and Kieran Culkin. What do you think about that?
It was anything but a real pain. It was a real fucking delight.
Nice.
The movie's about two cousins who are played by Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin, and they go on a pilgrimage to Poland to visit where their grandmother lived after she passes away. Okay. And they're both Jewish, and she was a survivor of the camps. And they go on a tour with a bunch of other people in similar situations. And it's just like a lot of grief processing, but with Kieran Culkin's snark and Jesse Eisenberg's like awkward comedy thrown into it. I think it's going to play really well to audiences, and Kieran Culkin is probably going to get a Best Supporting Actor nomination for it.
I just love that his career has skyrocketed since
he's very
Succession.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, I know he's been around forever, but like Succession was like his, like later in life, all these people reinvent themselves with roles like that. And so it's good to see him doing well.
So he was there to intro the movie,
cool.
Right.
That's awesome.
And before it, they play these little montage things with like highlights of their career or whatever.
It's all Succession.
But they showed the little clip from him in the first Home Alone movie, and no one remembers that he's in the first Home Alone movie.
Barely.
Like, oh my God, he really has been around for forever.
Yeah.
But he's finally having his moment now, which is pretty cool.
It's great.
So,
I've been to the Dachau concentration camp in Germany.
Have you?
And so I'm interested in seeing this movie because, like you said, a lot of the sort of like grief processing, and nothing can really like prepare you for just the eeriness of walking around there. And so I'm interested to see how this movie kind of captures that.
It does a really good job.
Like Zone of Interest actually did a decent job in the very end of that movie too, of kind of showing because it shows the present day of the concentration camp I think it was Auschwitz in that one. And that's probably where they go in this, right? Because it's Poland.
Yeah, it's a tour. So they go to visit as part of the tour.
Yeah, but it's just the like silent as the grave type of feeling. The second you walk in there and you think you shouldn't be there, just like very weird feeling.
Well, and for them, not only is it that they're visiting, but it's the one that their grandmother survived,
right?
Which is like it adds another layer of craziness to it.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting concept. I'm excited.
And that's Fox Searchlight.
Gotcha.
Big Oscar buzz studio. So.
Yeah, I think Alamo just put tickets on sale for that one because they had mentioned that all the reviews were talking about how good Kieran Culkin was in it. So I'm excited for that.
Yep.
All right, so now a not so serious movie. We'll go to Y2K, which makes me feel ancient, and probably you as well, because now they are making movies about our childhood and making fun of it. And it's a period piece, but that's like when I was a kid. It doesn't feel like it should be a period piece.
Yeah. So that one, it's a what if story of what if A24 made a screwball comedy.
Got it.
And the idea is it's a telling of New Year's Eve 1999 into 2000, but instead of nothing happening like what happened in real life, all of the computers assimilate and become murder monsters that kill all the humans.
Gotcha.
Jaden Martell is the star. Julian Dennison is the co-lead, and Rachel Zegler is like the love interest character. I enjoyed it. I laughed a lot during it, but I also kind of hated it because later in the week we were sitting down to watch The Brutalist, and the college kid that was sitting next to me struck up conversation, and he was like, "Yeah, did you like that Y2K movie?" And I was like,
"Oh no,
I did." And he was like, "I didn't get a lot of it." And I was like, "Oh, why is that?" He didn't understand what an AOL Instant Messenger away message was.
Yeah,
because he was in college now. He was probably born in like 2003.
Yeah.
And those were just not a thing at that point. There are a couple jokes about like pop culture in the late 90s that went like right over the entire audience's head, and I laughed out loud during them. And I felt like a moron because I was like the only person in the audience that was laughing. But
it's similar to, I'm going to go back to Succession, but there's that episode where Connor is like, where they all go on the bachelor party. Make sure you ask them where they were on 9/11, because if they don't know, then they're under 21. Similar type of thing where like there's all these things that if you're under a certain age, you're just not going to understand. But it was just such a big pop culture. The 90s were weird, man.
Dude, it was a very instant reminder of how weird the 90s were.
Yeah.
The type of music, the way we all spoke to each other, the slang, the way slang was then compared to how it is now is somehow the same but also different, which is weird. Like it's just as dumb, but it's a different kind of dumb. So
there's these studies that have been done recently about how culture has changed over time, and one of the things that they've talked about is that post 90s, so many things got genericized. So like as an example, they showed the color of the most popular car, or like the most popular color of car over time. And like back in the 90s, it was all over the spectrum, right? You have red, yellow cars, blue, red, yellow, green, everything. Now it's like white, black, or brown. Like that's it. Like very basic colors. And like fashion, the same thing, where like bright colors are not really a thing anymore. Everyone's getting a little bit more muted. So it's fun to see a period piece like that, because like, oh, back when like color was the thing.
Yep.
Right.
There's not a ton of daytime scenes in that movie, but when there are, it's like flooded with colors. It's just wild, zany stuff everywhere. So
it's like if you look at logos of companies and stuff, how they're just like minimal typeface, like that's all they are. But no, that's interesting. I'll definitely see that one just for the nostalgia.
It might not be one to run out to the theater to see immediately, but if you have the time, or if it comes on streaming or something, which I'm sure it will, it's worth checking out.
All right, next one, which is the weirdest one you probably saw, which is, I don't even know the full plot of this. I know that Amy Adams is turning into like a dog or something. That's what it's a dog, right? It's so that's what I got out of the trailer. But it is Night Bitch.
It's an interesting film. But the interesting thing about it is that the thing with her thinking that she's turning into a dog, that's the hook to get you into the idea of the movie. But once you get in, the actual plot device is the effect of motherhood on new parents and the struggle they go through, mothers and fathers, actually, because her co-star in the movie is Scoot McNairy. He plays her husband, and he assumes the role of the 5 days a week at work, breadwinner for the family, and she becomes the stay-at-home mom, even though they both had their own careers before. And there's just like a lot of meditation on dynamics and power dynamics and relationships and who does what and who should do what and what's exhausting and what's not actually exhausting and all that. So that was the stuff I found more interesting. The turning into the dog stuff was just like, oh, okay, it's weird.
More of like a metaphor type of thing.
Gotcha. Well, they film it for real, like
Okay.
she's turning into a dog, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is all kind of just going up.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. It's Amy Adams has always been
she's very good.
She's always been that actress that like you feel like should have been bigger than she ended up being. Or like every time she's in something, she's carrying it, and you're just like, how did she not have the movie star type of career that she deserved to have?
Yeah.
Stuff like Arrival. I think she's awesome in that movie.
You'll love this. She was there for the festival too, and they did the same montage thing before she came out. And the movie of hers that got by far the loudest applause was Arrival. And
I love that movie.
Hell yeah,
so
Denny did it.
Arrival. It's so freaking good. Every time I watch that movie, I'm just blown away by it.
Yep.
All right. So the next one is the one that I've seen. We do have a separate review of it. So if you want to see more, go check this out. But it is
Anora's
Anora.
Awesome. Go see it. That's all. Watch the other video and go see it. That's it. Next.
Yes.
Moving on.
We'll put a link either up here or in the description. I don't know if we know how to do that. We're new at this. I don't know if we know how to do this, but we'll put a link somewhere in there that you can go check out the Anora review. So the next one is the new Jason Reitman movie about Saturday Night Live. It is called Saturday Night. How was that?
Loved it. Didn't know if I was gonna love it. Ended up loving it. So the log line for that movie is the movie is an hour and a half long, and it is the 90 minutes before the first episode of SNL went on the air.
Nice.
And just the absolute chaos backstage. Stuff's getting lit on fire. They don't have a lighting technician. They don't know if they're going to go to air. They have a reel of a rerun of the Tonight Show ready to go. Just in case they pull the plug on SNL. And it's all about Lorne Michaels trying to navigate through all those bad things, ridiculous personalities like a young Chevy Chase, a young John Belushi, Gilda Radner, all the SNL alums, right? There's so many actors in this movie. Like every young actor in Hollywood makes an appearance in some capacity in this one.
Nice. That's awesome.
And it's really cool. I liked it a lot, and I think that's out in theaters now, so you can.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, I am so happy to see Jason Reitman doing more movies like that, and not Ghostbusters sequels. That I know that he's doing it because his dad did them, but I also don't like it.
So they did his montage too, because he was there to intro the movie.
Up in the air,
and they show up in the air.
Thank you for smoking, and
they did thank you for smoking. They got to Ghostbusters, and like the room just got quiet, and it was like, we don't talk about that one. And then they got into Saturday Night, and it was great. It's really sharply written. The movie it's constant momentum. It just propels all the way to the very end, which is exactly what I want from a Jason Reitman movie.
Yeah, I've always loved Jason Reitman as a filmmaker. I adore Up in the Air. I think that movie is fantastic. I watch
Anna Kendrick is so goddamn good in that movie.
She's awesome. The whole movie is great. The twist at the end is just like rips your heart out. I just think it's great. I saw that movie in high school in theaters, and I just remember being blown away by it. It was awesome. All right, so the next one is one that I'm really interested to hear what your thoughts are, because
how much time you got? Because it's a long one.
Yeah, when this premiered, it got so much hype as like the best picture frontrunner, and it is Brady Corbett's The Brutalist.
Yes. So this is a very long movie for anyone who's interested in seeing it. It is 3 hours and 35 minutes long. Which for those playing, that's about 35 minutes longer than Oppenheimer and 34 minutes longer than Avengers Endgame.
There's an intermission, right?
There is. There's a 15-minute intermission dead smack in the middle of the movie.
Will there be one when it actually shows in theaters, or just at the film festival? Okay.
No, it's
Gotcha.
part of the, like, when it goes to intermission, there's a graphic that they show from the end of the first part of the movie, and then a little timer fades into it, and it ticks down from 15 minutes to 0.
That's how Hateful Eight was when I saw it in theaters. Okay, cool.
Yep. And when it got to like 3 minutes before the movie was going to start again, they started flickering the house lights to let people know like it's time to sit down or whatever.
The good old days.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to get nominated for Best Picture. It might win. It's a very, very, very well made movie. I think Adrian Brody is probably a front runner for Best Actor after his performance. He carries the film. He's in almost every scene, which in a 3.5-hour movie, that's a lot of work to have to do. Felicity Jones is in it. She's the co-lead, also very good. Guy Pearce is in it, and he's like the comedic, like kind of levity relief guy.
Okay.
And he got a lot of laugh out loud moments during the movie. But the subject matter is heavy. It's about again, a Holocaust survivor who makes his way to America and is trying to build a new life. And he's in Europe before the Holocaust, he's a renowned architect. And after the Holocaust, when he makes his way to America, he's like shoveling dirt and coal mining and stuff, because what do you do when you have no reputation? You're starting all over and whatnot. And then it tells a pretty epic story as it goes along from there. I got to see it on 35 millimeter, which is really cool, because the movie was actually shot in VistaVision, which don't do very much anymore. And for those who don't know, VistaVision is when they take the 35 millimeter film and they rotate it 90 degrees. So that way they can film more data and information on the film stock. And man, it looked incredible. And
also
apparently it was only done
IMAX
on like
works too, but in 70.
Yep. And it was apparently filmed for only like 10 or 12 million dollars or something. Like, had a super low budget, but it feels massive and it's gorgeous to look at. So I have a feeling that there are going to be some people that are turned off by the runtime. That's just the world we live in. 3.5 hours that's a big commitment
for that type of a movie too. It's not, it's not a Christopher Nolan epic, even though Oppenheimer is mostly talking. It's done in such a Chris Nolan way that the soundtrack is going. This is not that movie, right?
No, but if you go see it, or if you wait until you can watch it at home or whatever, so you can take breaks or whatnot, I think it's going to be in a lot of people's top 5 or 10 lists for the year by the time all's said and done.
See, I'm actually the opposite in that I actually think I enjoy watching longer movies like that in a theater. And granted, I do have the Alamo Drafthouse, comfortable seating and food and drinks and all that stuff. So it kind of emulates being at home. But I find that when I'm at home, I'm so much more distracted by other things that I'm not fully in to a movie.
Like your phone or your dog.
Or exactly.
The score of the football game or whatever, right?
So like when I saw, and I'm going to do this again where I forget the name of a movie, but the Scorsese movie last year, Killers of the Flower Moon. Thank you. I cannot think today. But when I saw that in theaters, it was the same thing where it's like, had I watched that at home, I don't know if I would have enjoyed it enough as much, because
your brain would have wandered.
Yeah, I was much more into the movie, even though it was so long. I think it was around the same 3.5 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was an Apple TV movie, so I could have just watched it at home, but I went to the theater specifically to see it like that.
Yeah. I have the Blu-ray for Beau is Afraid, the Joaquin Phoenix movie. Yeah. I've never watched it. I've owned the disc for like 18 months now or something. But it's 3 hours at home. Yeah. And it's like, how do I even...
You can't lock in.
Yeah.
Right? When you're in the theater, you lock in.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel the same way.
But go see The Brutalist if it comes out in your area.
Yeah,
it's
definitely
cool
going to see it. I mean,
worth it.
I have to see it before our Oscar season because it's going to be up for so many things.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'd probably see it anyways, but like, this is going to be a front runner for a lot of things. So have to see it. All right, so the last one is Emilia Perez, starring Selena Gomez and Zoe Saldana.
Another big surprise for me.
Huh. Okay.
I didn't know what it was going to be. Kind of went into it a little bit blind. Turns out that it is a little bit thriller, a little bit crime movie, a little bit musical,
Hmm.
a little bit drama. Like it's got a lot of, it's like a hodgepodge type
Okay.
movie. But without giving too much away, uh, Zoe Saldana plays a lawyer, and she's kind of just bored with her life. She's constantly doing work to make the men at her law firm look better. And she ends up uh, under the services or providing a service to a drug lord.
Hmm.
But the drug lord isn't having her on retainer as like a lawyer to get him out of trouble. The drug lord wants to get out of the drug trade and transition to be a woman.
Oh, okay.
And Zoe Saldana's character is tasked with finding the right surgeon,
Huh.
taking care of the family, and making sure that they end up somewhere safe with money and all this other kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And it all kind of, as you could imagine, all the intensity ramps up as
Yeah.
that kind of stuff goes on. You're always waiting for the other shoe to drop with who's going to find out that this person is who they are or what their
Got it.
past is or all that kind of stuff. But then it also randomly has ridiculously well staged and like completely over the top musical numbers in it.
Now, is the becoming a woman more of a like a gender transition
Oh yeah,
story,
yeah
or is it a
it,
cover? Okay.
no, it's
Okay, so it's
man
not
to woman. Yeah,
got it. Well, yeah,
and
but it's not like he's doing it just to assume a different like non-drug identity. He's doing it because he's trans.
correct. Yeah,
Okay, correct.
and
Okay.
what's really cool is they had Zoe at the festival, and they also had Carlos Sofia Gascon, who's the drug lord in the movie.
Got it.
When she shot the movie, the early parts of the movie were before she transitioned because she's trans in
Oh,
real
okay.
life.
So in real life. Oh,
So yeah,
interesting. Okay.
so they filmed all the stuff where she's the male drug lord first, and then throughout the course of
Ah.
filming, she had her transition, and
Ah.
now she's a woman. It dude tore the fucking house down.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Like
and it's
that's
on
such a
Netflix
unique way of filming a
next
movie
week.
like that.
Yeah.
So did they how do you even plan that?
I don't know.
Like did they meet her before
They did.
her transition? And well, I mean, clearly. But
But yeah, they
did
pitched the idea of it.
okay, but did they know that she was going to transition throughout?
Yeah, it was all part of the plan, I
Okay,
think. Because when she was there and accepted her award, that's how she kind of talked about it, was
got it.
that it was all part of the process and the plan. But like, that's a very specific casting requirement
Yeah, yeah.
that doesn't come around every day. The movie is also in Spanish
Okay,
for
interesting.
the majority of its runtime. There's a little bit of
Okay.
English here or there, but most of it's in Spanish. So don't be afraid of that. You know, if you've seen Parasite, it won Best Picture a couple years ago. It's completely awesome. You just have to read the words at the bottom of the screen. It's not a
Oh
problem.
no.
It's reading is tough for some people.
What is it
I
like
know.
Bong Joon-ho that said like, the 3 inches is the thing preventing you from
Yeah,
a
then you
whole
need to get your
world
head
of
examined.
cinema. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. No,
But
but
yeah,
that's interesting. I had no idea this was a like a trans narrative.
I didn't either. I had no idea.
Got
And
it.
then all of a
Got it.
sudden they just played the movie and it hit me like a ton of bricks and it was just
Gotcha.
fantastic. So
Awesome. No, that's
that's on
cool.
Netflix on Wednesday of next week, I think, the
Okay,
13th.
so that's going to be their big awards push for the year.
100%.
Okay, got it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that is the list, Cory. We did it. You did
Man,
it. I didn't do anything.
I feel like I've been put through the ringer here. I hope I adequately described some of those movies and pitch them in a way that makes some of our viewers want to seek them out. Because
No, I think it's interesting because we'll have to look back on this in several months when all the awards come out, because I'd imagine most of these movies will be on those lists, right? Of the Oscar list that you want to see. And so I'm interested to see, like, once I see them and when we start to review some of these movies and talk about our favorite movies of the year, looking back on this and seeing what we were talking about back then, right?
Yeah, I'm also curious to see when I go back and rewatch some of them, how many of them I watched through slightly rose-colored glasses because it was like, oh, I'm at this film festival, I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to Disney World and you eat the food there and you're like, oh my God, this food was amazing.
Yeah.
And then you go, wait a minute, that food tasted like shit. The dopamine was flooded,
Yeah.
you know?
No,
So
it's totally true. It's kind of, you're going to laugh when I say this. But it's kind of like whenever I go to Franklin Barbecue, I think it's excellent. But also, when you go in person, you're waiting for like 2.5 hours. And by the time you get in there, you're just so amped up to try this barbecue that like it can't be bad.
right.
Like there is no way you would ever give it a bad review after
Yep.
waiting that long for it.
You trick yourself subconsciously into
Yeah.
being like, this is the best thing I've ever had in my life.
Yeah,
Right?
and it's actually really interesting as well because when movies do this, when they premiere at film festivals and then they go wide release, a lot of the time there's actually a surprise because the reaction to wide audiences is way different than the reaction that happened at the film festivals.
Yeah, for sure.
You'll see a lot of movies that are like super hyped up and then they go wide and like the audience just doesn't really connect with it the same way that it did and with the critics and the film festival goers.
I mean,
So
just looking at my list, some of the movies that are on there, they're challenging. They
Yeah.
challenge the audience to think differently and process emotions that, you know, not to say anything bad about them, but like if you go to see Captain America, they scratch the surface with some themes sometimes, you know, like Captain America's a black man now and there's a struggle there or whatever, but like Emilia Perez is going to challenge people.
Yeah.
That's
for sure.
Especially if you're not, you know, open and receptive to the idea of being a transgender person, it might be a tough watch for some folks, you know, and or a movie like The Substance, which played at the festival, but we saw it before we went, where it's all about beauty standards and it's got body horror and all this other kind of stuff in it. Like these types of movies challenge people narratively, and that's not for everyone. So sometimes you'll go on Rotten Tomatoes and you'll see a movie like that's have a 99% from the critics.
Yeah, and then like 60 or something.
From the audiences because it's not their thing. Because they want to go to movies, they want to see explosions and James Bond drive around in Aston Martin and go home. You know, that's kind of so.
Yeah, I mean that's typical of challenging movies like that. I mean, most of these are, I'd say probably most of them are crowd pleasing type movies, but like obviously there's some. The Brutalist is going to be another one where I think like normal audiences are probably going to check out halfway through because it's such a long drawn out movie. But
they're not even going to see it. They're going to go on Fandango
and maybe that's
3.5
better.
hours. No way.
Yeah, maybe that's better for the Rotten Tomatoes score because it kind of like weans out anyone that wouldn't be interested in it.
Well, the interesting thing too, though, is that a lot of these types of movies, the box office is not the end all be all for them because they didn't cost $200 million to make. The Brutalist cost $12 million. You know, like they're going to turn a profit on it just off the Oscar type people that want to go see it.
Yeah, I mean, they can turn a profit just on the digital release,
right?
Before the Oscars, right?
And at the end of the day, what they care about is making a movie that has something to say and provides an opportunity for an actor to act their face off in it, and not just, you know, read cliche style lines or whatever.
Yeah,
I hate to rip on superhero stuff. I have tons of superhero shit behind me. It's like it's a big part of my life, but also there's room for both. And this stuff is really good, and it's made, you know, from the heart in a lot of cases, and you can really see that in the movies themselves.
And I think that's also what's great about going to film festivals like that, because you get to hear from the creators of the works, and you get to hear, you know, their thought process, their passion, you know, what they think about what they made,
and their struggles too. Almost every person, whether it was, let me look at my list. So Coleman Domingo, Kieran Culkin, Amy Adams, Mikey Madison, Jason Reitman, Felicity Jones, Zoe Saldana, almost every single one of them said this was a really hard movie to get greenlit, to get anybody to pay for the production of this movie. And we had to fight to be able to make this, but we wanted to make it because we actually believed in the story. Like that's movies right there. So.
Yeah. And that's kind of what you lose when you hear all these stories about like focus grouping and, you know, we can't upset the fan base too much when we make something. And when you do that, you strip all the passion out of it. You know, movies are a business, but they're an art form as well. And when you strip enough of the art form out of it and it just becomes a business, that's when you start to lose the magic. That's when you start to see these movies that are really expensive and nobody goes to watch, because it's very clear on the screen that like people are just kind of not giving it their all, right? They're taking the paycheck. They're not going above and beyond. This is not coming from a place of inspiration. It's coming from a dollar necessity.
Like
And when you
like
get the mixture of those, that's when the magic really happens.
right.
Something like an Oppenheimer, right?
Mhm.
Where, you know, that's a big like blockbuster, makes $1 billion, yet is like this small story about he read this book and he really liked it, and so he wanted to make the movie.
That's it. Like the rumor of his next movie is something about helicopter pilots.
Yeah, and I'll be there
And
night
I'll be there
one.
day one,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Like sight unseen doesn't
Yep.
matter. I'll be there because
Yep.
he's got the passion and the drive, and he's also built up his name to the point where any movie studio will give him hundreds of millions of dollars to
Yeah.
make whatever it is he wants. So
Bring more of that back.
yeah,
But yeah,
dude, it was a
so
great week, man. It was so
yeah,
refreshing, and like there were parts of it where I was like, man, do I want to go back to school and like get a film degree? I'm not kidding. I'm like, I started looking into online degrees for that kind of stuff and whatnot.
yeah. You
Because
texted me after, you're like, "Hey, let's make a movie." Like,
yeah, let's just do it.
yeah.
Like, we
I
have
mean, you've worked
cameras.
on one before, right?
Yeah,
You've worked on a short. It's literally the hardest thing I've ever done
it's
is
so much
making
fun.
movies. It is a lot of fun, and you're like delirious by the end of it.
Yeah.
You're
Oh
making inside jokes about things that don't make any sense, but everyone's laughing.
yeah.
You're also tired, and but I think that's gonna do it. Thanks for all of your impressions on these movies. Like I said, we'll be probably talking about these movies later in individual reviews
I
and
can't wait.
Oscar lists and all that stuff. But I'm gonna do the closing now, which I don't think I've ever done
Oh man,
before.
hold on. I'm ready.
But if you enjoyed what you
Oh,
watched,
mhm.
go ahead and like this video because it helps the algorithm and helps push this video out to more people. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That helps us out. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your dog to subscribe to Movies Good, Internet Bad. And until next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.